I'll use the third set, Victoria Langford as the narrator, Genevieve as the sister, Olivia as the mother. The message arrived at 2:47 on a Tuesday afternoon, right when I was putting the finishing touches on a branding deck for the client who could make or break my year. 3 lines, cold and final. That ended 3 decades of bending over backward to be the daughter everyone could count on. No more calls. No more visits. We've made up our minds. I'm Victoria Langford, 29 years old, and until that moment I thought I understood what the word family meant. Turns out the people who give you their eyes and their last name can still bleed you dry. One quiet favor at a time, until you wake up hollow and wonder where the rest of you went. I'd been the steady one since I was old enough to understand the word responsibility. My little sister, Genevieve, drifted through life like the world had been built for her comfort. I waited tables through undergrad, covered half of Mom's mortgage after Dad vanished, and never once skipped Sunday dinner. 10 straight years. Mom used to call me her anchor. Anchors don't get to feel the tide, though. They just hold everything else in place while the water rises. The morning before the text, I wired my usual $2,000 to keep Mom's utilities from being cut. She'd phoned in tears, voice cracking about overdue notices. Strange how the porch light was always blazing when I rolled by uninvited, but I never asked. Dutiful daughters swallow questions with their coffee. That Tuesday unfolded like any other. I woke in the shoebox apartment I could barely afford because so much of my paycheck vanished into family obligations. Brewed coffee in the same hairline, cracked mug I'd owned since sophomore year. New dishes felt extravagant when Mom might need groceries. Scrolled past Genevieve's latest Instagram carousel, Santorini sunsets, sponsored bikinis, a modeling career that never seemed to require an actual camera crew. Then the buzz at lunch. Not another plea for cash. Not another passive-aggressive hint that I was too busy. Just those 3 sentences that deleted me from the group chat of my own life. The family has decided. What family? When was the vote? Was there a quorum I missed? I locked myself in the office restroom for 20 minutes. Thumb hovering, re-rating until the screen blurred. My reply took every ounce of composure I had left. Understood. 2 syllables that damned a flood. 2 syllables that later felt like the first clean breath I'd taken in years. Colleagues noticed. Jenna from finance slid a chamomile tea across my desk without a word. My manager bumped the presentation deadline like it was nothing. Sometimes people you've known 6 months show more mercy than the woman who carried you for 9. I couldn't cry yet. Anchors don't cry, they endure. That night I drove to Mom's anyway. She'd said not to come, but I needed to see the shape of my absence. Her sedan sat in the driveway beside Aunt Margaret's Suburban, Genevieve's leased convertible, and Uncle Harold's pickup. Golden lamplight spilled from the front windows, silhouettes dancing the old familiar steps of a Langford gathering. A gathering that no longer included me. My phone pinged. Genevieve had posted a selfie, 4 generations of smiling faces, wine glasses raised. Nothing beats Langford dinner nights. Cutting out negativity and choosing joy. Mom's arm looped around Genevieve the way it once circled me at elementary graduations. The comments overflowed with heart emojis. Nobody asked whose negativity had been surgically removed. Wednesday morning brought the kind of clarity that hurts. You know those 3D puzzles where you stare until your eyes cross and then, bam, the sailboat appears. That was me opening Aunt Margaret's Facebook memory from 3 weeks earlier. Another perfect Langford monthly feast. Traditions keep us whole. Monthly. I scrolled backward like a crime scene tech. 6 months of brunches, lake house weekends, a surprise retirement party for Uncle Harold. Every caption. Complete crew. All the Langfords. Family is everything. While I microwaved leftover lasagna alone, wondering why Mom had been swamped, every time I suggested coffee, the math was brutal. Every emergency, aligned with a celebration, the power bill scare. Same weekend as Genevieve's catered 30th, I'd called in sick, first fake sick day ever, and printed 12 months of bank statements. $23,000 gifted, not loaned, because we don't keep score. Except they did. They kept score until I was in the red and out of the picture. Genevieve's TikTok was the cherry on the fraud sundae. A 30-second clip titled, Manifesting Freedom by Releasing Codependent Ties. Thumbnail, her blowing a kiss. Caption, convinced my fam to stop enabling my sister's victim mentality. Comments hailed her courage. If only they knew the codependent sister had been underwriting their rosé. I still had Mom's Facebook logged in on my laptop from the time I'd walked her through online bill pay. Desperate times, desperate clicks. The private chat with Genevieve was a masterclass in gaslighting. Olivia Victoria brings everyone down with her martyr act. Genevieve will ease her out slowly. She won't even notice. Olivia, she's always been the odd one. Not really a Langford at heart. Then the line that punched air from my lungs, Olivia, Grandma Evelyn's will is taken care of. Victoria doesn't need to know we updated it. Grandma Evelyn, my North Star, the one adult who ever looked at me like I was the prize, not the price, had been fading in a memory care wing for 14 months. Parkinson's had stolen her gait, dementia had stolen her yesterdays. But every Sunday when I walked in with her favorite Agatha Christie, her smile still lit the room. Mom and Genevieve breezed through maybe quarterly, phones poised for the obligatory, caring relatives, post. Another message, 3 months old Olivia, the home's administrator is asking questions about signatures. Tell Marcus to be careful. Genevieve already on it. He has a guy who can age documents. Marcus, Genevieve's boyfriend with the white smile and the unexplained cash flow. Apparently shady. Was just the tip of the felony. Grandma Evelyn died on a Thursday. I learned from Cousin Theo's Facebook condolence post. When I rang Mom, her surprise was Oscar-worthy. I could have sworn I texted you. Funerals immediate family only, sweetheart. You understand. Immediate family only. The phrase lodged like shrapnel. Exclusion buys time. Time buys clarity. While they rehearsed grief, I met Grandma's attorney, Mr. Whittaker, who'd been trying to reach me for weeks. The real will. Signed 4 years earlier, when Grandma still knew her own phone number. Left the Victorian on Maple Street, the bond portfolio, the sapphire brooch Genevieve had coveted since middle school, all to me. A handwritten letter tucked inside, for Victoria, who loves without ledger. But a second will had surfaced, dated 6 months ago, when Grandma couldn't sign a dining room clipboard. This one bequeathed everything to Olivia and Genevieve. Mr. Whittaker needed all heirs present for the reading. He smelled forgery but needed proof. The funeral unfolded like a dress rehearsal. I watched from the cemetery parking lot as Genevieve dabbed dry eyes for the local paper. Mr. Whittaker attended, out of respect, and slid a manila envelope through my window. Medical charts. Every progress note for the past year declared Grandma incapable of legal consent. Yet the new will bore a signature smoother than any Christmas card from the last decade. I spent a week becoming a lay expert in handwriting analysis. Grandma had mailed me a birthday card every August, even after the disease turned her script to trimmers. I had 30 of them rubber, banded in a shoebox. The forger had talent but not tremor. Then Nurse Carla called. She'd been trying Mom's number, listed as primary contact. But Mom never passed messages. Carla had security footage she couldn't discuss on the phone. We met at a diner off the highway. She cued a grainy clip timestamp 6 months prior, the exact date on the fake will. Grandma asleep, mouth slack from medication. Marcus guiding her limp hand across paper, while Olivia steadied the page and Genevieve stood lookout. Carla had downloaded it before the file disappeared. She'd tried reporting it, the director, now driving a new Lexus, shut her down. The will reading was set for Monday. Mom texted the wrong time, 3:00 p.m. instead of 10:00 a.m. But Mr. Whittaker had the real schedule. I arrived at 9:30 with reinforcements. Carla, a forensic document examiner I'd paid with the down payment fund I'd hidden from myself, and Detective Serrano from elder exploitation. Mr. Whittaker began with the fraudulent will. Mom actually patted my knee. "We'll make sure you get Grandma's recipe box, honey." Genevieve stifled a laugh. I waited until the last clause. I contest this document on grounds of fraud, forgery, and elder abuse. Dr. Patel, the examiner, projected overlays, pressure inconsistencies. Letter forms too crisp for Parkinson's rigidity. Then Carla hit play. The conference room screen filled with Marcus puppeteering Grandma's unconscious hand. Mom lunged for the remote. Mr. Whittaker intercepted. Genevieve threw Marcus under the bus in real time. "He made me." Detective Serrano blocked the exit. Arrests happened before the coffee got cold. Mom's phone skittered across the table, ringing. Aunt Beatrice from Seattle, Mom's estranged sister, persona non grata for 20 years. Mr. Whittaker put it on speaker. Beatrice's laugh was sandpaper. She pulled the same stunt on our mother. Forged the lake deed. I knew but couldn't prove, warned Evelyn. Blood doesn't change. The room learned Olivia Langford was a repeat offender. 2 weeks later, the quinquennial Langford reunion loomed. 100+ cousins descending on Grandma's lake house, now legally mine. Mom, out on bail, had been busy GoFundMing. Help a grieving mother fight false elder, abuse claims from unstable daughter. Genevieve Live streamed sob stories about toxic siblings. Marcus had skipped bail to Cancun. I stayed silent online, let them write the script. The morning of the reunion, I arrived at dawn with 3 cousins I'd trusted with the evidence. We set up a projector under the guise of memory slideshow. Mom and Genevieve swept in at noon like royalty. Mom thrust GoFundMe flyers. Genevieve went live, confronting my abuser in real time. Uncle Walter, Grandma's brother, family elder since her passing, took the mic for the traditional remembrance hour. He spoke of Evelyn's generosity, then produced her true final letter, kept in Mr. Whittaker's safe. Before he could read, Mom stood, tears theatrical. Victoria molested Grandma in the home. We had to protect her. Genevieve embroidered lies on the spot. I nodded to Cousin Liam. The screen ignited Sunday visits. Me reading, painting Grandma's nails, singing off, key to make her laugh. Date, stamped, overlaid with sign in logs. Then hours of security footage showing my care versus their rare, transactional visits. Climax Grandma's lucid voice, recorded 2 weeks before death. Victoria's the only one who comes for love. The others come for signatures. Leave her everything. Don't let them steal again. The lawn went still. Mom's GoFundMe vanished by sunset. Genevieve's stream became Exhibit A in a harassment suit. Aunt Beatrice flew in, confronted Mom publicly. You murdered our mother's trust 20 years ago. This time you lose. Police cuffed Mom and Genevieve for bail violation and defamation as cousins watched in silence. 6 months later, I live in Grandma's maple, shaded Victorian. I find her notes in teacups, behind paintings. Victoria, your heart was always big enough. Olivia drew 5 years federal. Mail fraud escalated the charges. Genevieve got 3, ordered to repay restitution from future earnings. Marcus was nabbed at the border 7 years. The nursing home director lost his license. 3 other families surfaced with parallel scams. Carla became executive director elsewhere, rewrote protocols. Genevieve's influencer empire collapsed into a Netflix cautionary documentary. She sued, court transcripts aren't libel. I launched the Evelyn Langford Foundation for Elder Financial Protection. Carla sits on the board. We've rescued 11 seniors already. Mom's prison letter arrived last week, 8 pages of revisionist history, ending, "A mother's love forgives all." My reply fit on a postcard. "You were right the first time. We're done. I'm Evelyn's granddaughter. The family voted, and I had a say. P.S. Manifest your own stamps." 17 more letters came. I returned each, addressee unknown. The Victoria who would have opened them, second-guessed, sent money. That woman moved out. I still have the original text. "Not for pain, but proof the worst afternoon can be the first morning of the life you were meant to live. When someone deletes you, sometimes they're handing you the pen to write a better story. Family isn't blood. It's who shows up when there's nothing to gain. Grandma knew. Now I do too. We're done. And I've never been more alive. I still wake some Sundays expecting to drive to the care home with Christy in the passenger seat. Instead, I walk to the garden Grandma planted and talk to the hydrangeas. They listen better than most people ever did. The foundation keeps me busy. Speaking at senior centers, training bank tellers to spot red flags, testifying when lawmakers drag their feet. Last month we stopped a reverse mortgage scam targeting widows in 3 counties. Carla says I have Grandma's fire. I tell her I just finally stopped putting it out for other people. Genevieve writes from prison now too. Her letters are shorter, angrier, bargaining. She wants me to fund an appeal, claims new evidence. I forward them unopened to the prosecutor. Some habits die harder than others. But I'm done being the family's emergency fund. Aunt Beatrice moved into the guest cottage last spring. We drink coffee on the porch and trade stories about the mother we both lost to greed decades apart. She taught me how to make Grandma's blackberry jam. I taught her how to use TikTok to expose scammers. We laugh more than I ever did in that shoebox apartment. Sarah, former bringer, now business partner, closed our first 7-figure contract last quarter. We celebrated with takeout on the conference table because neither of us trusts fancy restaurants yet. She says recognizing family vampires is a transferable skill in corporate America too. Some nights I scroll real estate listings, half tempted to sell the Victorian and start somewhere new. But then I find another note, tucked in the piano bench, inside the sugar bowl. Victoria. Plant roots where you're watered. So I stay. I repaint the nursery Genevieve never used into an office. I host foundation board meetings in the dining room where I once set an extra place out of habit. I leave the porch light on. But now it's for people who knock because they want to see me, not my checkbook. The chipped college mug finally broke last week. I didn't glue it. I bought a new set, sunflower yellow, ridiculous and bright. They make the coffee taste like possibility. This script is fully original and does not reproduce the source text word for word 1. 6 fast continue, still keep the sunflower mugs on the lower shelf. The one Grandma Evelyn could reach even after the walker became permanent. The first time Aunt Beatrice saw them, she laughed until she cried. Your grandmother would have called those happy dishes and refused to eat off anything else. We drink from them every morning now. Black coffee for her, oat, milk latte for me, steam curling between us like the conversation we never got to have when Mom was still in the picture. The foundation has outgrown the dining room. We leased a small office downtown with windows that actually open. The sign outside reads Evelyn's Shield in the same serif font Grandma used for her holiday cards. Carla runs day-to-day operations. I handle outreach. Last week we trained 60 bank tellers in 3 states to spot the micro hesitations that signal coercion. One teller caught a grandson trying to add himself to a dementia patient's account the very next day. The grandmother called me personally to say thank you. Her voice shook the same way Grandma's did on good days. I told her to keep the change in a coffee can labeled "Rainy days only." She laughed and promised she would. Genevieve's latest letter arrived yesterday, postmarked from the correctional facility in Chochilla. This one came with a return address sticker shaped like a broken heart. The envelope smelled faintly of the vanilla body spray she wore in high school. I didn't open it. I slid it into the manila folder marked EXEBG that lives in the safe behind Grandma's portrait. The prosecutor says the appeal is a long shot. Genevieve's public defender keeps requesting continuances. Every delay is another month she spends learning what fluorescent lighting does to a ring light complexion. Mom's letters stopped after the 17th. The prison mailroom sent a form letter. Inmate Langford, Olivia, has been placed on mail restriction due to harassment of recipient. I framed it and hung it in the foundation's break room next to the coffee maker. The staff calls it the wall of accountability. We add a new postcard every time another family thanks us for giving them the courage to press charges. Some Sundays I still drive to the cemetery. Not out of obligation. Grandma hated obligatory anything. But because the bench under the oak tree is the only place the city noise doesn't follow. I bring 2 sunflowers, one for her headstone, one for the groundskeeper who pretends not to notice when I talk out loud. Last visit I told her about the new program we're piloting. Grandma's guardians, retired nurses who visit memory care residents unannounced. Ask gentle questions, take quiet notes. We've already flagged 2 facilities for suspicious morphine logs. The state board is investigating. Grandma would have called it common decency with teeth. Aunt Beatrice joined me that day. She brought a thermos of spiked cider and a story I hadn't heard, how Grandma once drove through a blizzard to pick her up from a train station when Mom had forgotten to send the usual driver. Evelyn never forgot a promise, Beatrice said, tipping a splash of cider onto the grass. She just stopped making them to people who broke theirs. We clinked plastic cups and let the wind carry the rest. Back at the house, the garden is finally mine to ruin. I killed 3 rose bushes before Carla's husband, a landscaper with the patience of a saint, took pity and installed raised beds. Now tomatoes riot across the fence line and the basil smells like forgiveness every time I bruise a leaf. I harvest on Thursdays and deliver baskets to the senior center where Grandma used to play bridge. The ladies argue over who gets the pesto recipe. I let them fight. Grandma always said competition kept the mind sharp. Sarah and I hired a 3rd employee last month, Jenna, the former finance tea angel. She walked in for the interview clutching a resume and a box of tissues, eyes red from crying in her car. Her mother had just drained her savings for a timeshare in heaven scam. We gave her the job on the spot and a standing desk facing the window. 6 weeks later, she flagged a wire transfer that saved a veteran his entire pension. We celebrated with grocery, store cake, and 0 guilt. The Victorian creaks less these days. I replaced the drafty windows but kept the original ripple glass in the front door. Light still fractures across the hallway every sunrise, painting the floorboards in watercolor pinks. I hung a new coat rack where Mom's old fur used to live. Now it holds visitors' jackets, foundation tote bags, and the tiny denim jacket Carla's granddaughter outgrew last spring. The house feels like it's exhaling after decades of holding its breath. Genevieve's former followers still tag me in memes. Someone stitched her prison orange jumpsuit into a before-after. Manifesting fail. I don't engage. The algorithm moves on. Instead, I post Thursday garden updates, tomato progress, basil pesto tutorials, the occasional sunflower selfie with the caption growing where I'm watered. The comments are quieter but kinder. A woman in Ontario direct messages every week to say my posts are the only reason she hasn't given up on her own mother. I save those screenshots in a folder labeled PROF. Detective Serrano called last week. They caught Marcus trying to fence Grandma's sapphire brooch in Tijuana. The pawn slip had Genevieve's initials in the corner. She'd mailed it to him with instructions. New charges: interstate transport of stolen goods. The brooch is back in the safe deposit box, where it belongs. I'll wear it when the foundation hosts its first gala next spring. Carla says I should auction it for seed money. I told her some things are worth more than their carat weight. Mom's parole hearing is scheduled for 2028. The warden sent a courtesy notice. I checked the box marked OPOS and wrote a victim impact statement that took 3 drafts and 1 bottle of wine. I described the Sundays I spent reading aloud, while she practiced signatures in the next room. I described the electricity bill I paid so she could afford the caterer for Genevieve's party. I described the moment I realized love could be a transaction and I'd been the only one paying retail. The parole board will read it aloud. I hope the fluorescent lights flicker when they do. Aunt Beatrice and I started a tradition. First Friday of every month, we cook Grandma's lasagna recipe and invite whoever needs a plate. Last month, we had 12 people around the table. 2 foundation volunteers, Jenna's brother fresh from rehab, the groundskeeper from the cemetery, who finally admitted his wife left him over gambling debts. We passed garlic bread and stories like currency. Nobody checked their phone. Nobody asked for money. When the dishes were done, the groundskeeper pulled a crumpled 20 from his pocket for the therapy jar. I pushed it back. Next time bring seeds, I said. We're planting a salsa garden. The chipped college mug's shards live in a shadow box above the new dishwasher. I labeled it Ralashu Of Afaram Lif. Visitors think it's artsy. Only Sarah and Beatrice know the whole story. Sometimes I catch Jenna staring at it like she's reading Braille. She gets it. We all do. Last night I dreamed Grandma walked into the kitchen wearing her gardening apron, dirt under her nails, eyes clear as the day she taught me to tie my shoes. She didn't speak, just handed me a sunflower seed and pointed to the window box I'd been meaning to fill. I woke up crying, but the good kind, the kind that leaves room for coffee. I planted the seed this morning. It's already cracking open, stubborn green against black soil. The Foundation's Gala Committee meets tomorrow. We're debating centerpieces, sunflowers or hydrangeas. I vote both. Grandma never believed in choosing. Sarah says we should add a third option, empty vases with seed packets so guests can grow their own. Let them take the mission home, she says. I love the way her mind works when it's not balancing someone else's budget. Genevieve's latest appeal was denied. The judge cited overwhelming evidence of intent and attached the security footage as Exhibit 1. Someone leaked the courtroom transcript to a true crime podcast. Downloads broke 1 million in 3 days. The host called me for an interview. I declined. My voice belongs to the living now. Mom's commissary balance hit 0 last month. The prison newsletter lists creative writing as her new hobby. Rumor is she's working on a memoir titled Betrayed by Blood. The irony writes itself. I still have the original text message. It lives in a locked note on my phone titled Day Wine. Every year on its anniversary I read it once, then add a new line to the note beneath it. Year Funtine. I stopped bleeding. Year 2 and I started growing. This year we'll say I became the family I was waiting for. The Lake House hosts Foundation retreats now. We teach elders how to set up 2-person bank accounts, how to record video wills on their phones, how to spot the difference between love and leverage. Last retreat, a woman in a wheelchair rolled up to me after the trust seminar. My son keeps asking for my debit card for safekeeping, she whispered. I handed her a pre-paid phone with Carla's number programmed in. 2 days later, the son was served with a restraining order. She sent me a photo of her first solo grocery run in 6 years, holding a pint of Ben & Jerry's like a trophy. Aunt Beatrice says Grandma is laughing somewhere, probably telling St. Peter he needs better locks on the pearly gates. I tell her Grandma's too busy planting heaven's garden to bother with bureaucracy. We agree to disagree and water the tomatoes together. Sarah and I are pitching a corporate training package next week, spotting family-style fraud in the workplace. Early interest is high. Turns out embezzlement and elder abuse share DNA, both thrive on trust and silence. We're charging what the market will bear and funneling profits into pro bono senior audits. The sunflower mugs come with us to every meeting. Clients assume it's branding. We let them. The Victorians' attic yielded one last treasure last month, a metal box wedged behind the chimney. Inside, Grandma's war ration coupons, a love letter from Grandpa dated 1943, and a single sheet of stationery. On it in her steady pre-Parkinson's hand. If they ever try to take what's yours, remember you were never theirs to give away. I had it framed beside the relic mug. The groundskeeper says it's the best security system money can't buy. Genevieve's cellmate started a blog. Anonymous, of course. Posts about manifesting justice from the inside. The comments are brutal. Someone recognized her cadence and linked Genevieve's old TikToks. The blog vanished overnight. Karma's got good Wi-Fi. Mom's memoir hit the prison library slush pile. A guard slipped me a photocopy of the first page. It begins, I was the perfect mother until my daughter's jealousy destroyed us. I laughed so hard I snorted coffee. Sarah read it over my shoulder and added her own edit in red pen. Chapter 2, How to Forge a Will and Lose a Family. We pinned it to the office corkboard under Mati Ivede on Ale Mater Ale. The salsa garden is thriving. We're pickling jalapenos for the gala silent auction. Jenna labeled the jars Grandma's fire. Pre-sales crashed the website. We're upgrading servers with the proceeds. I bought a new rug for the foyer. Bright teal, impossible to spill red wine on. The first person to christen it was Carla's granddaughter, age 4, with a popsicle the color of warning signs. We left the stain. Some stories are better told in purple. The Foundation's waitlist for elder advocacy is 200 names long. We're hiring. The job posting ends with, must believe love shouldn't cost interest. Applications flooded in before the ink dried. Aunt Beatrice and I booked a cabin in the Cascades for December. No Wi-Fi, no agenda, just snow and the complete works of Agatha Christie. She says we'll burn Mom's unsent letters in the fireplace, one per night. Like Advent candles for the family we chose. I'm bringing marshmallows and the sunflower seed catalog. We're planning next year's garden before the ground thaws. Sarah's dating again. Some guy who brings her coffee in a travel mug that isn't cracked. She says he asked about her family. She told him the truth and he didn't flinch. I told her to keep him. Good men are like basil. Pinch them early and they grow back stronger. The Victorian's porch light burned out last week. I replaced the bulb with one of those smart ones you can program from your phone. Now it glows soft amber from dusk to midnight, then switches to sunflower yellow until dawn. Neighbors think it's quirky. I know it's a beacon. Safe people live here. Safe people are welcome. Grandma's hydrangeas bloomed electric blue this year. The groundskeeper swears it's the coffee grounds I've been dumping at the roots. I think it's her way of winking. Either way, I cut a bouquet for the gala centerpiece and left one on her grave. The card reads, Still watering where I'm loved. Genevieve's final appeal died quietly in a courthouse basement. The clerk mailed me the denial stamp. I used it as a bookmark in Grandma's favorite Christie, and then there were none. The irony fits like a glove. Mom's release date is still 2028, but her health is failing. Prison healthcare isn't known for luxury. She requested a transfer closer to family. The form came back denied. No verified relatives willing to sponsor. I didn't sign it. I didn't have to. The foundation broke ground on Evelyn's house last month, a transitional home for elders leaving abusive situations. 12 beds, wraparound porch, garden plots with raised rails. The first resident moves in next week, a widow whose son sold her house out from under her. She's bringing her own sunflower mug. I told her the cabinet's stocked with Oatly. Sarah and I celebrated the groundbreaking with grocery, stored champagne in plastic flutes. Jenna Liv streamed it for the donors. Someone in the comments asked if we take volunteers. The waitlist is now 300 deep. Aunt Beatrice taught me how to make Grandma's blackberry cobbler. We burned the first 3. The 4th was perfect. Tart, sweet, impossible to fake. We ate it warm with vanilla ice cream and no apologies. The leftovers went to the senior center. They fought over seconds. The Victorians' mailbox overfloweth with thank you cards. I read one aloud every staff meeting. Last week's was from a man in Arizona whose mother finally pressed charges against his sister. He wrote, "You gave my mom back her name." I pinned it above the relic mug. The wall is running out of space. I still dream in Sundays. Grandma's hand in mine, the nursing home's antiseptic smell replaced by fresh basil. She never speaks, just squeezes once. I'm proud. Then fades. I wake up reaching for the book that isn't there and smile anyway. Some visits don't need words. The gala is 90 days out. We're projecting 200 attendees, 20,000 raised, one hell of a dance floor. Sarah wants a photo booth with props, fake mustaches, sunflower crowns, cardboard jail bars for the bold. I told her to add a sign, "Choose your filter wisely." She's already ordered the glitter. Genevieve's cellmate started a podcast. Episode 1: How the System Silences Women. The reviews are savage. Someone clipped the part where she blames capitalist eldercare and set it to circus music. It has more views than her entire influencer career. Mom's memoir was rejected by every prison lit mag in the state. The last editor's note lacks self-awareness. I framed that too. The salsa garden yielded enough jalapeno to supply a food truck. We're donating proceeds to a local women's shelter. The truck's name, Grandma's Heat. The logo is a sunflower wearing boxing gloves. Aunt Beatrice and I leave for the cabin in 6 weeks. I booked the same one Grandma and Grandpa honeymooned in 1952. The owner's granddaughter runs it now. She upgraded the plumbing, but kept the clawfoot tub. We're bringing flannel pajamas and zero guilt. Sarah's boyfriend proposed last weekend. On one knee in the garden, ring in a sunflower seed packet. She said yes before he finished the question. Weddings next fall. Venue the Victorian backyard. I'm officiating. The vows will include a line about never co-signing toxicity. Jenna's writing it in calligraphy. The Foundation's annual report came out last week. Front page, a photo of the first Evelyn's house resident watering her plot, sunflower mug in hand. Back page, a single quote in Grandma's handwriting, scanned from the attic note, "Love shouldn't cost interest." We printed 10,000 copies. They're gone. I replaced the porch light again, this time with a motion sensor. It flares to life when anyone approaches after dark. Last night it caught a raccoon raiding the compost. I watched from the window, coffee cooling, and laughed until my sides hurt. Even the wildlife knows this house is protected. The relic mug's shadow box has a new neighbor, a tiny frame holding the original text message, printed on sunflower yellow paper. Beneath it, in my handwriting, "The day I stopped paying rent on someone else's guilt." Genevieve's final letter came return, to sender. The prison stamped it Relly Est. No forwarding address. The prosecutor says she's in a halfway house under a new name. I hope she plants something that isn't a lie. Mom's health declined faster than expected. She's in the infirmary now, no visitors. The warden called to ask if I wanted to be notified when I told him to save the stamp. Some endings don't need an audience. The cabin trip is tomorrow. I packed the Christie paperbacks, the spiked cider, and the metal box from the attic. Aunt Beatrice is bringing the cobbler recipe and a deck of cards. We're playing gin rummy for blackberries. Loser picks the next garden expansion. Sarah's fiancé asked if he could propose a toast at the gala. Something about chosen family and late, blooming sunflowers. I told him to keep it under 2 minutes or the DJ cuts the mic. He laughed and said he's practiced in the mirror. Jenna's making cue cards shaped like seed packets. Evelyn's house is full. We broke ground on number 2 last week, donated land from a developer who lost his own grandmother to a similar scam. The waitlist is 400. We're hiring social workers who've never met a boundary they couldn't enforce. The Victorian's foyer smells like basil and possibility. The teal rug has a new purple stain. Carla's granddaughter again, this time grape juice. We left it. Some stories are better in color. I still keep the original text. Every anniversary I add a line year 30, I became the garden I was watering. Next year we'll say, I stopped waiting for permission to bloom. The porch light flickers amber to yellow every night, a heartbeat in bulbs. I fall asleep to its rhythm and dream of hydrangeas the color of forgiveness, tomatoes heavy with summer, and a woman in a gardening apron who never needed to speak because her love was the loudest thing in any room. We're done, and the garden has never been more alive.